things in life that we can do, because all of those things that you wrote down goes, because they're true. But also these are the little things that we forget that are easy to do, that we don't do. But by doing these small little things, increase our quality of life and also works towards our path very quickly. Yeah, so very important to remember.
You remember them a long time when somebody cares about you. Just gives that. I remember just when you said that, like my grandma used to always just hold just above my wrist and just like squeeze my hand. And that kind of like, that was her way of showing, when you sit next to her that she, she's with you and there. And it just, and then you repeat these things. So you be the one who starts the care, like the way you, grandmother would take care of the grandchild and all that. You try to show that kind of care. That's the love metta we should be trying to promote in the world.
Yeah, even in our monasteries, it's very sweet to see how I'm sure this is happening in the monks' monastery too, even in the nuns' monastery. When you see somebody is washing, sometimes you take it down and fold it nicely, and you feel really nice. You don't know even whose it is, but the person comes and finds their washing nicely, folded. Beautiful act of generosity. Yeah, and sometimes you leave a little note saying thank you, or expressing, thank you so much for doing this, so I really like what you said, or something. It makes a big difference, just a little tiny thing, and it goes a long way. And kind of beautiful to remember, even in the family life, we take each other for granted. But each one of us like to be appreciated. Like yesterday's Dhamma talk I gave, you were talking a lot about sensual pleasures, and people love their sensual pleasures for happiness. But do you know what you like more than your sensual pleasures? Sensual pleasures is nothing compared to another kind of happiness that you're all addicted to. We are all addicted to. And that is pampering our ego. We love to be popular. We love to have friends. We love to be respected. We love to receive affection. We love to be needed, trusted, valued. Don't we? This gives much more happiness than the sensual happinesses. This is a real difficult addiction. But there are wholesome aspects to this one. So if you do the wholesome parts of this one, it is actually okay. So try and see whether this is something we still like, enjoy, far greater happiness than the sensual happinesses. Done in the right way, it can also be part of the path, easy to do, small little habits that we need to do within us and in our small family group, at work, and it goes a long way. And we need to receive it, we need to give it. There's no other way. We can't demand these things.
And that's, again, in Buddhist society, we have these things. You are needed. You are being a part of Buddhist society. It's very important. And you think it doesn't matter. It does matter tremendously. That's the reason I'm here, because somebody decided to put the teachings online and publish them, put the effort editing them, clean the hall here, all kind of little things, and then and we find the Dhamma then because of others, and then so make yourself needed in a sense, but in a good way, that you come and volunteer in somewhere you find your mind is uplifted.
Okay, so shall we start our slides?
Start.
Yeah. Okay. You want to start this one day?
Sure. Which you are? That one? Sure. So now we're talking about the anavajja sukha, the happiness which comes from being blamelessness, happiness through virtue and right livelihood. So it's interesting that there's a bit of a long list here, but it's a lot to do with being a monastic, but there's quite often a lot of these suttas were spoken to monastics. So the Buddha said about this, what it means to be what is a livelihood? What is the livelihood for monastics? He refrains from taking animals, land, and engaging in trade, deception, bribery, or violence, avoiding all forms of harm, dishonesty, and exploitation. And and he goes into the explaining here as well, like what you shouldn't accept, that you shouldn't have. In those days, obviously, it was a lot of like animals and those kind of things where it was common to, that was your livelihood, that's what you owned. But as a monastics, you cannot go in there. And the interesting thing is like one thing which is it's a wrong livelihood for monastics, it's going for errands and running messengers. So don't, as a monastic, because monastics used to actually be one of the ones who walked from place to place. And so the people used to tell the monastics, monks and nuns all the time, well, you're going to that village, well, my so-and-so friend is there, can you tell them this and that message? And so monastics sort of very easily can fall into that. And so we should refrain from those kind of like livelihood even. But it obviously goes to everybody, this kind of refrain from wrong kind of livelihood, which cause harm.
Yeah, since we are doing this course also largely to the lay people, I want to bring up maybe a little bit of a discussion even, or some feedback from the room. Have you ever thought about your own livelihood, your job with respect to right livelihood? Of course, there is the very obvious ones that is coming up later. The Buddha said 5 things not to do. Like, what were the 5 things? It's coming up in a later slide. But, I'm sure most people here are not doing that. But have you thought about your current job? Are there any challenges?
I'll tell a story. In Finland, where I come from, instead of us, we don't have bottle shops like you hear in Australia. The alcohol we have a monopoly. And then where I come from, it's a small rural town, quite small. And then there's a lot of towns, quite far distance. And our little town happen to have the bottle shop in our town. And it's hard to find, because it's monopoly. It's government. It's a government shop, so to speak, or it is. And then it's hard to find those kind of shops which are sort of reliable. Like you can go there and they, how would you say that, work to find a work in a village, which is that kind of government work, so to speak. And my mom had an opportunity to work there. One time they asked her if she could, wanted to apply because they thought she would be perfect there. And she said she didn't want to do it. And the reason she said she didn't want to work in a bottle shop, in an alcohol retail shop, that because she volunteers or used to volunteer a lot of time in working with alcoholics. So she does a lot of, these days she just does funerals sometimes, but she used to work a lot, do volunteer work with alcoholics. She used to cook for them and do this kind of things. And she said, I can't do both. I cannot work, volunteer with these people because I'm trying to help them at the same time selling them what causes them the harm. And she just didn't feel good at all about it. So she just said, I couldn't apply for that. And I thought it was it stuck with me. Even when I was lay person, I wasn't a monk. I was a just young person. But I thought it was amazing that she, didn't want to take that job, even though it's difficult to find work where we come from. And that would have been that kind of, sort of, so to speak, like a good job. So what else would be here for anybody else? What would you, think on your own work life that you would perhaps refrain or wouldn't want to do?
Yeah. How to do and who you work for with integrity, is it all those things. Sometimes it's tough because you need work and what is available and stuff like that. So it is a fine line. It's not our job to get into it, but just to bring in awareness as practitioners, just to see, how can you do your work with integrity, with honesty, keep with right livelihood. Yeah. So this is where all those ideas of not deception, not deceiving, not bribery, no corruption, at least from your perspective, with your own little place, can you do an honest job, a job that goes into the society to do something good? Is it contributing towards that? that would be good if it is possible. So this is something to just think about. It is beyond just the
because it
thing,
gets
but
complicated.
It is,
We had discussion about this when we were doing the workshop. Where does it end? Let's say you, instead of work, you don't want to work in a bottle shop because it's too much, or in a bar. But if you work in a restaurant, you serve alcohol. I think that's fine, because you most of the time you just food place. But then if you work for, you deliver a truck, or you drive a truck, and which delivers alcohol, or like where is the limit, sort of? But I think you were saying that it's, as long as it contributes for the society, you're doing. How would you put it?
In a way that is harmless. It's not
Harmless.
causing harm to yourself and others. The
Right.
way you do and what you do, and it is honest, and you can do with integrity. Keep your integrity.
Yeah.
And your sila is not broken as a result of your job. Because sometimes I've heard people say they get a lot of pressure from their work to lie. Saying if they are the professional, they know this contract, it'll take 5 years to complete. But their boss say, put down 2 years, because they want to get that.
Get
right?
the grant or
Get the
whatever.
grant. So they're forced to, and they know themselves it's going to take way more than 2 years, but they have to lie. So things like that, sometimes you get forced to lie and say the wrong thing. So it's very difficult, of course.
Life is never black and white.
Yeah. Just think about it and see how best you can look after yourself as you do your work.
But that's exactly many things in life. As long the Buddha said, you don't hurt yourself, don't hurt the other person, and don't hurt neither one, both. So know yourself or the other. So don't be that is sort of like what you have to take in consideration when you're doing things like. Also, is it hurting yourself, others, or us as a whole, society even?
And don't also feel being stuck because you now got this job and you invested so much of your life studying and preparing for it. If time comes and you realize, actually, my job is causing lots of unwholesome mind states to come up in me, it is counterproductive to my spiritual growth, it is okay to change. At the end of the day, your work is to just get the money that you need to look after your needs, right? Remember, needs and wants. So if you're serious on the practice, it is okay, to change work and find something that is fulfilling, because it is 1/3 of your life. For most people, if you work 8 hours a day, that's 1/3 of your life you're doing something. And it is important that you're doing something in a wholesome way. If it is unwholesome, it's not going to be helpful, which is probably why right livelihood is there.
Yeah. Sleeping and livelihood. you sleep and then you work, and then a little bit of time you have time to practice Dhamma.
Yes. I propose to skip this slide if we have too much, and we come to there. Actually, this one, there's not the part that is just a part of the same sutta. It says a wise man or a woman is one who thinks good thoughts, speaks good words, and does good deeds. And in the next slide it comes, when a wise man or woman rests and his past good actions, bodily, verbal, and mental, envelop him or her like a mountain's shadow. He reflects, I have done no evil, only good and wholesome deeds, and have made myself a shelter from suffering. When I pass away, I will reach the destiny of the virtuous. Free from sorrow and distress, he experiences profound joy in the present. So this is this blameless happiness. This is keeping virtue summed up, the benefit of virtue, how that is of great help here and now and beyond. That's the wrapping up kind
what
of
is that
slide.
word, the reflection? I was going to look, but maybe I'm not going to take that long because we have to move on. But reflection actually is very important. I'm not sure what that is meant to hear, that literally here in the sutta, but whatever you do, try to get it that and more you do, easier it is to reflect on anything. So if you're a generous person, you do it over and over again, that reflection becomes automatic. So it's like, but it's good to reflect on your sila. This is what Buddha is saying here. And it's actually a nice simile. It's like a mountain which, it brings the shadow over.
Yeah.
So it's very
So I'll take this slide because you already mentioned this earlier. So we'll
Uh-huh.
wrap it up again.
good.
This is again that sutta where it is in another sutta. This is also in MN 129. So is it? Probably not. This is actually from Cetana Karaniya Sutta as well. Anyway, Bhante, what is the purpose of wholesome, virtuous behavior? Yeah, this also comes up in Anguttara Nikaya 10, Sutta number 1 also. Oops. And Buddha says, Ananda, its purpose is non-regret. Right? So when you have being good, done your very best, yeah, it's less regrets and remorse, let's say. Yeah, less of these. Maybe not perfect, but less. So when you have less regrets and remorse, or no regrets and remorse, then your mind has gladness. Yeah, the mind has gladness. The word for gladness in Pali is pamoja, and that leads to joy. This is piti. Yeah, sorry, gladness is joy in this one, and then it leads to piti, which is rapture. And from rapture, the Buddha says, Na cetana karaniyang bhikkave, means that you don't have to exert will. It is a natural consequence. When the mind has rapture, the body becomes tranquil. And then it leads to the tranquility of the mind, then becomes pleasure of the mind, which leads to stillness, which is deep meditation. And then from there comes insights into reality. So it shows how starting from virtue, how without virtue you can't reach there, because if you have regrets and remorse, that stops the entire psychology of meditation, how meditation develops. And this comes again and again in the suttas, so which is why we want to highlight the
virtue. It is, you have to remember that it's this virtue of, like, it encompasses so many things in your life. The way you think, where you act with your body, speech, mind, how you behave in the world, whatever you do by yourself, not just outwardly, but when you're by yourself online, all of those things, that follows you everywhere.
And also if you look into the Satipatthana Samyutta 52, I can't remember which one it is, in the connected discourses. Again and again, the Buddha also mentions that the cornerstones of right mindfulness is virtue and right view. So again, if you want to build up right mindfulness, not any old mindfulness, because mindfulness is fashionable, the right mindfulness according to the Buddha, the foundation is on virtue and right view. So which is also why virtue is important. We just want to highlight that, because sometimes virtue is looked down upon as just not that,
It doesn't have the positive aspects. It's sort of like negating things, like don't do that, don't do that, don't do that. No, we're saying do that.
Good things.
Good things.
Yeah.
Act, speak nicely, take care of others. Kind words and acts matter tremendously, and that's part of the sila. So you could sometimes use adi sila, the bigger aspect of sila.
Okay, now we move on to right livelihood, but probably briefly because we already spoke quite a bit about it. Okay, right livelihood is earning a living honestly and harmlessly, having abandoned deceitful or exploitive means such as scheming or manipulation. Right? Just in brief. So,
and that's important thing. Sometimes maybe we don't talk about enough of this, but that's one of the things why monastics, monks and nuns, we cannot have money, because this cannot become that like a work what monastics are doing. It's a wrong livelihood. It's really not good for monastics to start having this as a livelihood in being a monastic.
Yeah. Okay. A lay follower avoids trades in. So these are the 5 things to be avoided: trade in weapon, trade in living beings, trade in meat, trade in intoxicants, and poisons. So that's the only thing that comes up. But there's a lot of suttas in different ways the Buddha talks about livelihood. But Yeah, so
Yeah, and again, I mean, this goes into such a deep, like, where do you draw the line? For me, I remember being a layperson, I had disposable income, so obviously I started to do trading, go in the stock market and this and that, and then where do you invest? It becomes a thing as well. Like, okay, well, and it's hard to find actually investment, which is when you really start looking into them, that it's not trading into weapons or intoxicants or poisons or all kind of things. Yeah.
yeah, and also just take a moment to see how you would feel the burning, right? The burning that arises when you engage in the wrong kind of livelihood. It's not hard to understand, which is why it is there. Because as even livelihood, if you do things that creates that burning to start, then it goes against Nibbana, extinguishment, right? So you can see when you do these kinds of things or similar, we can expand this maybe into the modern day. There may be more harmful things that are happening now, but this gives the idea of what it could be. So you can see as you do your work, do you start to feel at uneasiness? Then time to change.
And also then how much time you have to even spend on the, perhaps this is not right or wrong livelihood, but if it takes away your whole life, what's the point of work? You don't live to work, and then, or if it becomes your identity, that's, you lose yourself into it, and maybe not so wholesome. Okay, continue with the right livelihood. When a householder, a lay practitioner, acquires wealth through energetic effort, honest means and righteous livelihood, he feels joy, is again the same word here, knowing it was rightly gained, using the wealth for his own well-being and for meritorious deeds brings further happiness and joy. So the interesting thing, the Buddha, we're not sort of against earning money, and there's like, you don't have to be like, we all have to be poor. In Buddhist, you cannot earn money. No, the Buddha said, earn enough to put away for your family and yourself, and to take care of your family and yourself, and put away a little bit for the future to save some money. And one part you should always give to dana. So you need to earn as well, so you can give dana as well. So. But if your livelihood and you're earning to buy another fancier car and another Rolex, like, where does the end of Rolexes end? Like, how many can you have? How much happiness the second, the third, the fifth Rolex gets you? I know one person told us some time ago, I was with him, with Ajahn Brahmali and I, and he said he had all these Rolexes and all that, he was just showing off to others, and he said, I sold them all. He said he had 20 cars and sports cars and this and that. He said, I just need the one car now. He wanted to simplify his life. He said, none of these watches ever brought me any happiness. He just came to that realization. He said, the Dhamma is a lot more important to me. And it was like, we were just like, well done of you to realize that.
Yeah. And this verse, this is from Dhammapada 24, for the hard-working and mindful, pure of deed and attentive, restrained, living righteously, and diligent, their reputation only grows. I thought it's a nice slide to wrap up the power of virtue and right livelihood, which was a large part of this session, and also to show all the happinesses that can be had, as part of this.
Yeah.
And
the only thing to add here before we move to out of the right livelihood is that you can see that these things are so important, and there's this Eightfold Path, that this is speech and livelihood. You don't think why Buddhists should be teaching that, why is or the Buddha was teaching that, why don't we just teach meditation or mindfulness? You cannot separate these things from your life. It's such an integral part of who we are, how we feel about ourselves, like how do we earn money, how do we speak to others, how do we treat each other. It all plays into this, and that all of these things, when you're more or less good enough with those, it starts to lead you in towards Nibbana. When you feel good about it, you can just leave these things behind.
Yeah, I like to read out the cartoons here. They're quite sweet messages. Some stranger somewhere still remembers you because you have done.
You were kind.
You're kind to them when no one else was. Right? So little acts of kindness goes a long way in your own heart and somebody else's as well. Right? And let your heart speak to other hearts. It's another powerful thing, just to summarize with what we have been talking for most part of today. And then also small things done with great love are great things. Yeah, they are great things. It's how you do things. Yeah, it's not necessarily only what you do. What you do matters, but how you do also matters a lot. So I think that wraps up that part of that, and now we move on into contentment, joy of this much.
Yep, please continue. You can,
Yep. A bhikkhu, this is again from the Majjhima Nikaya 27, which is our base sutta for gradual training. This is how it is given. This is a paraphrased version. A bhikkhu is content with the simplest requisites: robes to cover the body, alms, food to sustain life, shelter for rest, and medicine for health. Wherever he goes, he carries only what is needed, like a bird flying with its wings as its own only burden. Very beautiful imagery, right? Very, very beautiful.
It's one of the Ajahn Brahm's favorite ones, where he talks about monastics. That's how you should live, have that very simple life.
Yeah, it's really check yourself. How much do you really need? How much do you have? You can empty out a lot in your house, isn't it?
Yeah, there's like I was just thinking. Now my parents they're quite old and they're very sick. My father, for example, and we lived in this big farmhouse for all of their lives, basically now our adults' lives. How much things we have accumulated there? It's going to be a massive burden for us children now to empty the house. There's just so much stuff there. How much stuff do you have? Imagine if you're gonna die tomorrow, how much burden it is for others to do your death cleaning for you. Do it before you die. Do it yourself instead of like wait until others have to take care of your stuff. And definitely don't waste any money to buy what are these things where people store things? There's
storage.
There's storage, you rental storage. Like, what a waste of money that is. But we can see them everywhere here in Perth, popping up. More and more, we need storage space. No, don't do that.
So
Get rid of
just
things.
in case thing, just in
case.
Just in case.
Yeah. I guess a lot of people's houses are like that. The whole house is just in case.
Yes.
Yeah. And how many rooms do you have? Well, just in case somebody comes and visits me.
Okay, and you want to do this?
Joy of this much, power of contentment is you're content with whatever you receive, untroubled in want and unentangled in gain. You dwell in blameless happiness and peace. I mean, obviously, this is again with the monastic that you don't start hinting and asking things all the time. One thing we are always taught from Ajahn Brahm is that never ask anything. Like if you need something, sure, and somebody, you can get it, then you need medicine and whatnot, but always think about, do I really need it? Do I really need it? So when you feel that you don't have, whatever you have is good enough, you don't sort of, it doesn't tangle your mind into it. You don't have to think about so much. You don't have to think about how to get it.
In monastic life also we can get into things, can't we?
Oh, easy.
Yeah. Easy. All these kinds of, I really need this kind of thermal. It really keeps you warm. Or this kind of shoe because it's good for your feet. Or, it is in any kind of lifestyle. If your mind is like that, you really can get into that anywhere. So to be careful. Of course, sure, if it is for your health and if you really need it, it's all right. If it is beneficial, if it is helpful to lead your spiritual life, that is fine. But many things are not like that, right? Many things actually take you away from your spiritual life. Too comfortable, you sleep a lot or something like this.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is a
Or you have to
contentment.
worry about something that, somebody's gonna, they have this expensive thing, so someone's gonna steal it from you.
Yeah. There are a couple of just very general slides here, but also from the suttas, the joy of this much. The Buddha says, Bhikkhus, I do not see even a single thing that so causes unarisen wholesome qualities to arise and arisen unwholesome qualities to decline as contentment. Very powerful statement, isn't it? Because we want our unwholesome states to go down and wholesome states to come up. So think about discontent. Right now, do you want another nice cup of coffee?
Yes.
Yes.
No, I think I have it.
You have it. Right, if you can't have it and if you want it, when the discontent sets in, it's a state of suffering. The moment you want even something that is not even immoral, still that discontent is a state of suffering. Yeah, when the mind has contentment, it is still, it leads to stillness. A still mind is delightful. Yeah. So you have to see that in real life, how when the mind starts to move towards any kind of want, even very small want, it is difficult. If you want to change the posture, different seat, if you're not happy with the chairs, complain about Buddhist society have so much funds, why do they have these horrible chairs? Well, you can see how much suffering that could be, and you start thinking about, maybe I will donate some really nice lazy boys here. So people can, of course you'll have a good intention, they can meditate really comfortable.
Yeah, I think
this is how it goes.
I think it's as a monastic, you really see it clearly as well, because we have so much time to look on what's happening in the mind. You can see how the mind proliferates. That's
Right.
how easy go. Like only if this, like I could just do this, or this would somehow change it, I could be. But you just have to be. You can be content with anything, and that's again, you can be content with sickness, old age, all those things. It goes really deep,
It goes deep.
and not just with your own sickness and old age, but it was like same for me. It's like there's nothing I can do to cure my parents from old age and sickness. There's nothing I can do.
Yeah.
I just have to accept it, and then perhaps contentment there is sort of bit tricky word to understand it, but you just have to. That is the reality. So there's nothing I can do about it, sort of. You just have to, take it as a human life. And same with but the contentment for your own sicknesses, and we all have them. None of us are, are liberated from those until as long as you get born.
How do you distinguish between contentment and complacency?
I don't know.
I don't
tell
know.
me.
Nice thing to think
well,
about, isn't it?
complacency it's not happiness.
Yeah.
Complacent, it's sort of like,
Laziness, isn't it?
yeah,
Comes
it's
from
just sort of, I don't
being
feel anything. It's actually that kind of just kind of dark space, actually.
Yeah.
Whereas contentment,
lazy.
again, is synonym for joy. That easiness, that you can meditate at ease and all that.
Yeah, contentment comes with wisdom. Complacency comes from stupidity.
Yeah.
Actually, I can't be bothered. I'm tired. This is good enough. I can't, I've had enough. So
Yeah.
I just do with it.
And
That kind of thing.
Yeah, and I think
Whereas,
complacency as well, very easy as a meditator is to become that kind of I don't feel anything, that therefore it's going well.
Yeah.
No, you're just being dull.
Yeah, and this is really important, to remember. Many people think that suffering is to be sort of, gotten rid of. The Buddha didn't say it's a pariññaya Dhamma.
Yeah.
Suffering is to be understood. That is how you overcome it, not by pushing it away. So whereas there are some people who meditate in a way, they shut down, they freeze, they somehow sort of stop feeling, stop perceiving, stop becoming this kind of bland thing. And in the short term, you feel okay compared to the suffering you are feeling because you are now frozen to it. But that's not the end. It's still unresolved. It's still there. At the time of death, it's going to come and take you over. So the whole path is to face suffering with the right view, understand it, and it is through understand it you transcend it.
Yeah.
So it's very important. Yeah.
You're turning away from. You
Yeah,
get disgusted by
Yeah.
suffering. I don't want to suffer anymore. We're not here to somehow through wisdom be that I'm not going to suffer anymore because I'm so smart.
Yeah.
No, you cannot do that. It's just sort of like you overcoming by the happiness. Sort of you naturally turn away, and then the happiness follows from there.
And another thing, just reading this cartoon, when you discover that all happiness is inside of you, the wanting and needing are over, and life gets very exciting. So, just to say, why do we become discontent? A lot of the discontent in our lives is towards the sensual world, right? We want to see something, do something. This is when you go open the fridge, nothing to eat. The fridge is full, but nothing to eat. Put the TV, there's like I don't know how many channels are there, endless, nothing to watch, right? Pick up the phone, nobody to talk to. Go to the shops. All this run, looking for something. Why? When there is this kind of suffering, when you don't understand how to deal with life in general has unsatisfactoriness. Just all forms of contact is difficult if you don't know how to deal with wisdom.
Yeah.
All you do, the Buddha says, the worldlings, unenlightened beings, they only know to run towards the sensual world in search of happiness, and this is this discontent.
Yeah.
But when you learn how to become peaceful, this is that creating happiness inside from within, how to stop, how to become still, how to just be, enjoy just the simple things like the wind on your face, the sunlight warming you up, just seeing like a little bird or a flower, just simple things, and you settle down, and from that then you start, building up your inner joy of giving, instead of joy of getting, joy of virtue, joy of all of these things that we've been talking about. When they start to fill up your heart, when you start to feel full, with that comes contentment. You're not running after now. Your mind is less and less running out. It is coming inside and becoming still. So deep contentment goes hand in hand together with the meditation. They support each other.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is important to remember. Yeah. Okay. What is next? Still there. Okay. Still contentment. Health is the greatest gain. Contentment is the greatest wealth. This is Santuti Paramang Dhanang. Yeah. Truth is the best kingsman. Nibbana is the highest bliss. So we shall move on.
Yep.
Okay. So from restraint to release. Why is there happiness in restraint? This is, would you like to speak to
Okay, so I'll read the Majjhima Nikaya there. What are you abandoning by restraining? A wise meditator, reflecting carefully, restrains the faculties eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, and mind. By doing so, the taints, vexation, and fever are prevented, and inner peace and clarity are preserved. You basically what you have to start, you start reflecting. Are these things good for my mind? It's like if I continue watching these things, if I continue listening these things, if I speak this way, keep endless chatter, is this really bringing inner peace to me? Am I preserving it, or is it overflowing, so to speak? Am I flowing into the world again? I'm just wasting time instead of listening. So there's a lot of these kind of things where it's reflecting, and the reflection again is like somehow sounds difficult. But a lot of it's, like I tried to say earlier, I was asked, like, how should I do certain things, or like, how do I wisely, where do I gain this kind of wisdom? You gain it here. You come to Buddhist society, you come to meditation retreats, you listen to Ajahn Brahm's talks, and Ayya Karunika, and Ajahn Brahmali, and not Ajahn Mudito's talks. and that it starts to form us. We are conditioned being. So the restraint really starts from you coming here to listen to, to listen to the teachings. The inner peace and clarity comes from here, and it starts to change you. And then the restraint, again, the peace comes from there. It's not sort of like us getting more and more. We become less and less.
Yeah, and restraint is also not about closing the eye. We can't even close our ear. We wish sometimes, don't we? We could close the ear. It's not about, closing these things and not looking at them, but in the right way. The Buddha says if that was the case, because there was in the, I think, Majjhima Nikaya 152, one of another person, not a Buddhist, comes and says, our teacher also describes the taming of the senses. And he asks, how do you do? Oh, we don't look at things. We don't listen to things like. So then the Buddha says, if that is the case, somebody who's blind and deaf would have reached the perfection of faculties. And the Buddha says, this is not how to do it. It's not about not looking, not hearing, not like that, but doing, changing the way. It's you here, the thing is there, what is in between, how do you manipulate there, how you look at things. You look at things in a way, you see them for what it is, the reality, with wisdom. So this is where the right view. So use glasses of right view. This is the thing that I really like, especially we are mostly into seeing and hearing, right? This is how we receive the world a lot. See and hear through filters of right view. Our problem is we have the glasses and the filters. Sometimes we forget them. You know how we lose your glasses at home? Then you can't see, and then you see through wrong view. So the mindfulness job is to remember to put the glasses on, right? So put the glasses on, so you see through right view. So seeing itself is not the problem. Seeing in the right way. Not grasp the attractive objects where lust can come up, or not grasp the, patiga nimitta, like repulsiveness of something where anger can come up. So instead, train yourself. This is the whole path. The whole training is about retraining your perceptions. Yeah, it's about retraining the perceptions. And then you can still engage in seeing, hearing, touching, feeling, all of those things, but you don't get fooled by it. Instead, you reach wisdom done in the right way.
Yeah, there is beautiful things in the world, but it's just sort of, we don't grasp onto them, hold on to them, think it's mine, and then that's going to enhance my happiness. The happiness, we trying to find it more and more inside of ourselves. And we, again, with the sense restraint, and restrainment is the vital condition for the ethical conduct. When you have that restrainment, that obviously goes into that being, having a kindness of your heart, having a sila, your good conduct, because you restrained yourself. It's just where you simplify yourself, you start naturally feeling, sort of pure about yourself.
That. And also, I just want to add one more thing about seeing, hearing and stuff. Most of us have difficulty with our speech, isn't it? Right? Speech. We always think we can do better, because it is with speech that very often we hurt other people. It just comes out so quickly. So I too have this problem. I have suffered a lot. I'm still not there yet. But I was wondering, I've looked up all the things online. I've read all the suttas, all the information, how to do right speech, how to, deal with this properly. It's so hard. I know all the information, but this just comes out too quickly. Then I discovered something, Then I discovered something. When you actually hang out with people who have right speech, without effort, really, it feels like effortless. Your speech changes. Yeah, because we are conditioned. This is the thing. That's why the Buddha said, Asevanacha balanam, panditanancha sevana. Don't associate the idiots. Right? Or
Yeah, well, I mean,
fools.
yeah, fool,
Associate
yeah.
the
Oh, yeah,
wise,
yeah,
yeah?
yeah.
Because when you hang around, you speak like other people. Where is your unskillful speech coming from? You were conditioned. Speech is a habit that was conditioned both this life and previous life. So in the same way, you can recondition by hanging out with people who had the right way. That's the fastest way. All those courses, all those information, none of that was as effective as hanging around. So this is listening. This is seeing. I was just looking at people's body language. Somebody, when they spoke nicely, there are people, they're rare, but there are people, when they speak, it's so delightful to be around these people. It's so beautiful. And when you see that, you really get that in through your eyes, through your ears, through your every sense, then and you imbue, and then you become that. And then I understood, there are 4 things. Sotapatti Anga, everybody, most people want to become at least stream winners, right? At least. Serious practitioners, they want to at least, and they wonder how. And there are 4 things the Buddha says. Sappurisa Sangsevana, that means associating the good people, Aryans. Saddhamma Savana, so listening to the Buddha's teachings. Yoniso manasikara, wise attention. Dhammanu dhamma patipatti, applying yourself. So then I wondered, why Kalyana Mittas and Saddhamma, same thing, isn't it? Because when you meet Kalyana Mitta, they tell you the Saddhamma. Nowadays you have computer, you have Sutta Central, no need of both, done with that. But why did the Buddha say? The 2 different. He is never superfluous. If the job of the Kalyana Mitta is to give Saddhamma, you don't have to have both. Then I realized the benefit of associating the Kalyana Mitta. Because you can have the suttas, sutta tells you all the right speech, everything. But when it makes a big difference, actually, when you hang out with people. You all know, people here in the audience, you have been hanging around somebody like Ajahn Brahm for a long time. You know how much effect, how much more. It's not about his words. He's cracking the same old jokes that we've heard, right? We still laugh, but it's not necessarily only what he says. Of course, he says very helpful things. But where it's coming from, who he is, being around, things go inside, which is why it is actually important to come here into this space. Yeah, it makes a big difference being around, and even more, not just only here. That is why when you volunteer, I'm not just advertising, I'm telling the truth. When you're volunteering, you actually interact more with him. You see him not only as a teacher, but as working. Yep. And you see and learn. I mean, I learned a lot during building project. Like I had to interact with the advice he gave, how he made decisions. You learn a lot by hanging around. That is why you hang around in the monasteries, yeah? And then you see how they do, what they do, and you imbue. Something goes inside much more than the words. So this is again senses used in the right way, not the wrong way, to take in the right kind of information. Right kind of way, kind of conditioning to happen. Because wrong kind of conditioning can happen with the wrong view. But right kind of conditioning can happen using these very senses to make progress. So this is important to know. Yeah.
I mean, Mangala Sutta we chant all the time. Samananang Dadassanang.
Exactly.
Mangalang. So just to see, monastics, monks and nuns and Aryans, and just to spend, hang out with them, that's one of the highest blessings. It's not like we always have to talk about Dhamma. By the way, we're almost time to. It's time to take let's have a little break. But and how do you hang out with monastics? Is you drive them around. Do
you need a driver, Bhante?
Once in a while you do. But we have really wise people who they literally just said, whenever you need, I'm always available. Call me, and these people get to hang out with us. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, let's take 10 minutes break.
10 minutes break. Yeah.
Yep. Then we have a Q&A.
So anybody, if you want to have a little chat, maybe outside and keep this space silent so people can actually meditate for a bit. take some questions, if you have. Yeah? Okay. Thanks. Put your hands up. Yeah? Here. There's somebody who... Chamari. There's someone here.
My first question is in I think one of the Dukkha Kanda suttas. This is actually related to what you said in the morning about celibacy and restraining. So in the Dukkha Kanda Sutta, one of the Dukkha Kanda suttas, I remember Mahanama was asking Lord Buddha if sometimes he although he's trying to practice, sometimes he misses that some way. I'm basically explaining it in a very simple way how I understood it. Then Lord Buddha said that it's because you haven't yet replaced the sensual happiness with the other, the noble happiness. My first question is that how I understood, was it correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
Yep.
it's true.
If that is so, then so the happiness he was talking about was the deep meditation. So in order to achieve that, you need to reduce the five hindrances, for example, to a great extent, and that can only be done if you. So it's sort of a dilemma. If you hope you understand what I'm trying to say.
Yes, I understand. Do you want to speak to this?
No, you can start it.
Yesterday's Dhamma talk, I addressed this again, but I will say it again so that you get it, because
the honey.
You were there?
Yeah,
yes.
About the honey, it was very good.
Exactly. So you have to start somewhere, right? Because of course, the first jhana can only be achieved when the sensual pleasures are finished with, kind of, gone for a large degree. That's the one that's holding you back from entering first jhana. Yet, having jhana is very helpful to let go of the sensual world. This is the dilemma you're talking about. So this is why there is the gradual path. So you take up right view. With right view, you keep reflecting. So you do your sensual pleasures, and you also reflect. So there is a very beautiful practice that the Buddha has recommended, and it's very, very important for everyone to do. So as you have experiences, as you receive life, the Buddha says, with every experience, do these 5 things. First thing, become fully aware and give attention to the gratification of the experience. Not to deny. If there was no gratification, there will not be people traveling in samsara, there will be no craving, right? Because there is gratification in things, which is why we have craving. So whatever experience, don't deny it, pay full attention to the gratification. What is the gratification? See it fully, mindfully. It's this much, whatever much it is. Okay, this is its gratification. Then also see the danger. If you can't see any danger, the very ending of that gratification, at the last song of the concert ends, music ends, the last piece of cake, the last mouthful finishes, that gratification ends. Last day of the holiday, you return home, it ends, right? So that very ending itself, because whatever is gratifying is impermanent, there itself is the danger. But there is much more dangers than that with our experiences. So pay attention. Our thing is we never pay attention to these. We only pay attention to gratification. We never pay attention to the danger. The Buddha says pay attention to both. right? Make this as a practice. Then you pay attention to samudaya and vaya, the arising and passing away. Again, we are good at seeing the arising, and we only jump from arising to arising, from one to the next. So you have a nice cup of something, you go to the next thing, you pick up the phone, so you only see the arising aspects of experiences. We never pay attention to the ending of things. So the Buddha says, pay attention to both. So the arising, how does things experience arise? When contact happens, right? When eye contacts, you see, you have an experience of sight. When you make ear contact, you have an experience of hearing. Like that, you pay attention, because when the contact happens, you have an experience. When the contact breaks, the experience ends. For example, you may be enjoying a nice, meal, and you get a phone call, somebody you loved has died. After that, you can't experience the flavors anymore. Now your contact is different. Yeah, like that. When the contact changes, your experience changes. So samudaya. So it starts when you contact. When the contact breaks up, you make another contact. This has come to an end. The Buddha says, notice the end. So then you realize the impermanent nature of all of these things. So this is how the wisdom grows. So you have to get wisdom about sensual world. So this is while doing it. So Buddha didn't say, okay, just stop. He never said like that. While doing that, you do it with wisdom, and this is how you do it. So you pay attention to gratification, to the danger, to arising of it, and also pay attention to when it has ended, and nisarana. Nisarana means the escape from it. So you realize, why do you go and engage with these things? Is because you have craving. Why do you turn your head and look into something? Because your eyes are interested to see. Why do you lend your ear to listen to somebody or some faraway thing? You are interested to hear. You say the sound disturbs you, but you are disturbing the sound. This was last Friday, not this one, the one before, Ajahn Brahm's Dhamma talk, right? So this is the thing you see, because we have craving, that's why we engage. But when the craving ends, that's the escape. So that's the whole path, right? So you recognize, okay, I am interested, this is the craving, where it's coming from. But when you keep doing this again and again, bhavana bahulikata, the Buddha says, do the cultivation, development of it, that is bhavana, bahulikata, again and again and again. Make it more, it comes to a point, okay, it's this much. And you actually start to see the danger is actually far greater. And you start to see the gratification, yes, there's gratification, is so small. You start to see, I am being fooled, I am being conned by the world. I pay, I do this much, for only this much. It comes to you. Yeah. It's really important. Then the sensual world starts to fade away naturally. You're not interested because you see, wow, this is such a, not worth it. The amount I have to pay back and the little gratification I get is not worth it. It's so far away. You think the banks rob us and, retail shops rob us. They're nothing like how much you get robbed otherwise, with all these other things. So once you start to see for yourself with your mindfulness, sensual world starts to drop. And as it drops, your meditation takes off. As your meditation takes off, it's easier to drop. So it goes like that. Spiral goes upward like that. So that's how you start. Not we'll stop all of your singing, dancing, music, all of that, and try to grit your teeth and get into jhana. Will not happen. Don't try it.
Yeah, exactly. And it comes to this kind of what we've been talking about today is the drawbacks. What are the drawbacks of working a lot? So you have to put a lot of effort, and it creates a lot of dukkha for you. That the world, the workplace, you have to deal with harsh words. People give you hard time, deadlines, all kind of things. Sensual world, so in order to earn money, you need to go through that. So you start seeing the drawbacks of to earn money. This is what I have to go through, and then I earn the money, which is nobody can just get a check for not doing anything. Well, then you get it would be nice if we could, and then So that's the drawback of that, earning the money. And then the second drawback is like the more you earn, then you have to protect it. And then you start going into this like, well, now I have to make sure that nobody's going to rob me, that the children are going to spend my money which I earned hard, or or fire is going to burn the house, whatever, we have a bushfires. Those kind of things you have to start worried. Then you have to get insurance because if you have more expensive house, and then this and that. So instead of like, well, maybe I just simplify my life. I don't buy expensive cars, I don't have expensive things, I simplify my life. You see the drawbacks, and what I was saying. World, we sort of start seeing what the world can give us. And how do we, by simplifying, is actually I gain more freedom. I just feel at ease. I don't have to protect these things like hardly earned money so much.
And I want to say one more thing, and I'm going to apologize ahead of time for saying this.
Sorry.
Yeah, because it will come as a hard thing maybe for some people, but I have to say it. I'm going to say for your short-term suffering, maybe long-term benefits, so bear with it. So everybody is looking for this perfect relationship. Yeah, we think if we have a perfect relationship, somebody who loves me, cares about me, respects me, do everything, I will be happy forever after. Everybody, even if you're old, you're still looking inside. Even you've had it, you think if I have this perfect relationship, that will bring me happiness. This is a very inherent human kind of search. And everybody in this room have gone through some form of relationships. To understand, yes, there are, but they are not necessarily the really best kind. It's nice, but it changes. So you have understood the drawbacks of a relationship. It doesn't come one way. It also comes with a package, right? So while you're having your relationship, which is not the most perfect, but your intermediate one, this is imperfect relationship which you have to deal with, you see it's already suffering. But imagine you are this imaginary perfect relationship which you think is existing somewhere. And few people you see are having quite good relationships into old age. Very few, but there are people like that. And you think they don't have suffering? What is the suffering there? Because the relationship is so good, when death comes, the suffering is greater.
Yeah.
Right? It's much more greater than the ordinary relationship when the death comes.
I literally did a funeral day before yesterday. This lady came and we scattered ashes in the monastery, and they had a good relationship, one of those nice relationships. They've been 57 years together, and now the husband died, and she said, I can't wait to go myself.
Yeah, so this is how it is.
She wanted to die now because it was her life was
over. Yeah, so this is the thing. So either way, whichever direction you go, the more perfect, the more best, the more enjoyment it is, because the nature of impermanence hits, it's even more painful. So this is the big paycheck that we have to pay.
Yeah. But at the same time, don't become like Jain ascetics, like in the same sutta, where they think they tormented themselves and they got somehow wisdom. It's like, don't get a relationship where you think you're tormenting your way out of bad karma. If it's bad relationship, you can end it.
Yes.
It's not good either.
Yeah. This is just to make the point. Paycheck.
I'll just quickly read one of the questions, because Ayya, you talked about something. So the question is, which sutta is that Ayya is now discussing? The Buddha said to look at 5 things.
Oh, there are many suttas. There's so many. If somebody could if they want to just do a word search on Aswada, Adinava, Samudaya, Vaya, Nissarana, any of those words, they'll very quickly get into it.
Or you can you can look Majjhima Nikaya 14.
14? Okay, you got it.
On the shorter discourse of master suffering. Okay. That's one of them, but there's many. But
many suttas. Buddha says it again and again.
Dukkakanda Sutta, but there's Chula
shorter
one. But this is the easiest one. Is Majjhima Nikaya 14, 1-4.
Okay, shall we go to the slides now?
Was there any short question?
Can I just take the last question?
Yeah, I had the mic.
Thank you for the sharing.
Yeah.
Just now, you mentioned that.
Can you speak up a bit?
When there is a sensual pressure, it's impossible to attain jhana, if I understand correctly.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, it looks like, and it sounds like it's quite difficult for a layperson like me. What should I do? And how do I know that I am actually progressing on the right path?
We've been talking about it all morning today, that you start seeing that certain things arise, like certain happinesses start arising, and you start, contentment starts arising, you start loving kindness starts rising in your mind. But it's not impossible for anybody to attain, to get these deep meditation experiences. It's just like you have to be withdrawn from the world enough. It's not like you completely end your sensory desires for the world. It's just, it doesn't work that way. Obviously, it's easier and easier the further you are removed. But even if you come to a retreat, and then it's like a simple place in Janagro where food is provided, you're in this kind of environment, it's a lot easier there, instead of just coming from work on Tuesday morning and then just you sit down and attain jhana. It's a lot more difficult. Yeah. But 9-day retreats it's a perfectly good environment for that. Yeah.
So look for the gaps where your desires are less. There are times. It's not like you have strong desires all the time. Even that is impermanent. So at those times when the desires are less, are the times you can meditate. And it's interesting, even there was a sutta where there was a monk, right? He was in the charnel ground, supposed to do asubha meditation, repulsiveness of the body. He was looking at a corpse, disgusting corpse that was a couple of days old, and lust came up. Looking at that, and it's like, oh my goodness, I'm a monk, I'm meditating, and I'm, getting lustful of this yucky scope. But in that very day, in that very sitting, he turned his mind around and was able to get into deep meditation and even got enlightened. So, you can have desires and it can let go as well. So don't think that I have sensual desires and it's there all the time. No, they subside. And they subside, you have to make use of those times when they're less. That's the only way. There's no other way. Okay.
It's the same way. It's hard to have good mind states all the time.
Yeah.
That doesn't so, but you cultivate them, and then you enjoy while you have them and make more of them. Yeah.
Okay, that's your slide.
My slide, is it?
Yes,
From restraint to release. Why is there happiness in restraint? True happiness is, I like this, true happiness is subtractive. It comes from letting go, not adding more. The joy of restraint is peace that stays. And I like this idea that this is not from suttas, this is that is the restraint is not, it shouldn't be like you restrict yourself, you protect. And that's why we have our monastics rules. That's why you have your 5 precepts, if you keep 5 precepts, or if you have a special days, you keep 8 precepts. That's why monks and nuns, we have a high precepts. It's not that they restrict that. It's a protection. That's why Ajahn Brahm always emphasizes. It's like we're the fish in the aquarium. We get fed, and when we get sick, the fish doctor comes and takes care of the fish in the aquarium. Whereas out there, it's a dangerous world. It's you have certain kind of freedoms, but you don't have to. The protection is missing. So this kind of like the restraint actually frees you from the chaos of craving, and then that restrains you. It stops you when you restrain yourself. Let's say your mind wants to go to certain kind of YouTube side or certain kind of watching certain kind of videos. That the wisdom of that, the noble restrainment. It stops the suffering straight there in a contact. You don't go there. And then, and you see, like, you have to think about it. It's sort of like when you keep that for a long time, that kind of kindness, restrainment goes together with your sila, the goodness of your heart. There is no weight. You don't have that weight holding you down all the time. So together, these two things are like, it brings this lightness which is steady, which is unshakable. Once in a while, sure, you go into that too deep into that sense world, and you desire, maybe I have these beautiful things, and you think you forget again, and that's, you start craving, and you think that's going to bring you happiness, but then you start again, slowly start moving towards that kind of simpler and simpler life. So don't think as if this happiness is, you get when you get more and more, that happiness comes from there. Happiness is subtractive. So you have less, and then that from there you get more happiness. Is that me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. From again, continue with the restraint to release. Why there's a happiness in release, restraint. When you guard your senses, and this is what we've been talking about, this guarding your senses, the like restrainment of the senses. You don't chase the world. The struggling stops. You just sort of like, I don't go there. Your mind wants to go and watch the Chinese drama again, another episode of Bold and Beautiful. Sounds like a lot of people are watching Bold and Beautiful. You do that, but after that, instead of continuing with it, you watch the Bold and Beautiful, but instead of continuing to watch another drama, then you just sort of, okay, I have my release today. I needed to watch the Bold and Beautiful. It's important because otherwise I don't know what's happening there. But then you stop. Then it's like, okay, that was enough for me. You get fed that kind of drama you need to watch for a little while. But then realize that, okay, well, I cannot just keep watching here and be in front of the TV rest of the afternoon. I do something else which brings me more stable happinesses. So these indulgences, they don't end in peace. It doesn't bring you more and more peace. It has certain kind of release because that you wanted to watch it and you were thinking about it, and you know that it's not so bad, that it's just Bold and Beautiful after all. But so it doesn't create a lot of craving and regret. But if you keep sitting there, you didn't cook food, you didn't clean, you didn't get anything done. So it ends in this kind of unhappiness if you continue too much with it. So again, it's just sort of like you restrain yourself a little bit, and then that from there you don't have those regrets coming. Do you want to say anything else about Bold and Beautiful?
No. No. Yeah, and I really like this craving and regret. It's like a tug of war.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's about holding back, but not about being free from the pull.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's about being free from the pull. Yeah.
So I think the next slide is me too.
Yeah, that's also you. Yeah.
Okay. So again, I mean, I just wanted to continue to point this picture of that restraint is freedom, not repression. So it's like when you actually restrain yourself, it's not, don't think about this as sort of like I'm holding myself back. It's that this is, it's like as if like you rules, like we always, when we think about rules, that there is somehow, there's repression, there's just, it's like prison, but the prison is the prison of five senses, whereas we don't know what the real freedom feels like. So the mind is more, when your senses are more guarded, mind becomes more light, steady, and happy. And then you preserve your mental energy when you have that kind of like, I restrain myself going into those deeper and, those kind of deep cravings. Your mind, you feel like you have more mental energy. Again, I mean, it's so easy to, especially with internet these days, to really to go to the deep end. You can find anything online, especially if you really allow your craving to go. You think that the more you crave, that you don't see the drawbacks there, and you think that I watch more and more, I listen more and more, I eat more and more, I experience these sensual pleasures, we all understand it cannot bring more and more happiness. It's very limited what it can actually bring you. It's same like using drugs. Why you have to restrain yourself from using drugs? Drugs are fun, right? They feel good. That's what drug users say. That's why if you use it, there is a certain kind of happiness is there. But the drawbacks are too much. The negativity, what comes out of it, we understand in wisdom. And we go further and like more and more into this kind of finer and finer aspects in our life. We start seeing the drawbacks. It doesn't bring clarity, lightness and freedom. That's what we're trying to achieve as Buddhists. Not just drugs. I mean, let's say alcohol. Alcohol is a big part of whole society where we live. Why? There's nothing wrong about drinking, right? Does it bring you freedom? Does it feel good afterwards? I don't think we see the negative drawbacks of it. And I liked one time, you can even think about this way, the drawbacks, even if you don't see it for yourself, but one time there's a story from France, from Thich Nhat Hanh was living in France. They had the monastery there, and this old grandmother went to him and said, "What's wrong about a little bit of wine? I just, I drink wine with my dinner. I've been doing it's part of culture. We in France, after all. What's wrong with 1 or 2 glasses of wine with dinner?" And Thich Nhat Hanh told this grandmother, he says, "You're setting an example to your grandchildren. So, what's wrong about you smoking? Like I know some mothers who used to smoke and they just could not stop. They even smoke, like they quit for a while when they had their small children, but they really regret when they kept smoking because it set an example for their own children, and then their own kids started smoking, and the mom would never feel good about seeing their children smoke."
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. The only thing that I would like to add further into this is how restraint brings happiness, is that when you have your senses guarded, when you do the restraintment, what happens is your hindrances go down. What are the hindrances? Sensual desire, ill will, restlessness, sloth and torpor, restlessness and worry, and doubt. These things are state of suffering. This is the state of present moment. This is why we run away when we try to meditate. We say, "Oh, I can't keep my mind still," is because, when the 5 hindrances are there in the mind, it is a state of suffering. Discontent is there. And we rather run into somewhere, even to think about problems, than be there. So 5 hindrances are a state of suffering. How you realize that is when they subside. So when you enter into meditation, when the 5 hindrances starts to subside, so they start to subside already when you start to have sense restraint. They lose their momentum. The momentum is broken, and you start to experience this bliss and this happiness. And this I mentioned yesterday night's talk, and this is in the gradual training sequences in the Digha Nikaya 2 up until the 13 everywhere under the 5 hindrances. I'm not going to say too much because this will be an upcoming class. They will explain in more detail, but just to show what is coming up and also to see the happiness, because that's our theme here, to show is that when the hindrances are subsided, the Buddha says it is like as if when you have a debt and you pay off your debt and you're free from debt. What a release. You feel so good. I've paid off my mortgage. I'm debt free. Such a wonderful feeling. He gives another simile. He says, if you have had a sickness, you're suffering, you're in pain and difficulty. We all know what it's like to be sick, right? And finally you get better. Do you remember the day? One morning you wake up and you feel good. You have good energy, the feeling of good health compared to being sick. So when the hindrances are going, so hindrances are like a sickness, like a debt. And then the Buddha says, hindrances, being free from hindrances is like being free from jail, from imprisonment, from confinement, right? So you're free from jail. Then it is also like being free from being slavery. I don't think anybody here has ever been a slave as in that, but we have been slave to our cravings. So, but anyway, in this simile, it's like being free. You're not a slave anymore. You're not under somebody else's command. And then the last one, it is like you're going through a desert, very oppressive, no food, no drink, really hot, really difficult, and you finally reach the oasis, a nice village where there's food, cool water, shade, comfort, right? So it's like that. These are the Buddha's similes to show the happiness.
That's for the
born.
doubt, isn't it? Is that?
Sorry?
That's the doubt coming over.
Doubt,
the desert.
yeah. The last one is the doubt,
Doubt.
yeah.
When
So
you-
these are for the 5 hindrances.
You feel like you find again,
Yeah,
like I was
Reconnect.
lost. I
Yeah.
was like, and there's stress for it. And
Yes.
this, so
Yeah.
you we don't realize, but these the hindrances, we have these all like in our mind all the time, and we don't see how much is weighing us down until for a while you don't have it. And same for me, I remember finding the Dhamma, for example. It felt like, wow, I found it finally. I've been looking for something like this, and you feel very free. It's like I'm so glad. The pamojati, the happiness rises very naturally. That is like you find something which speaks to you, like the the Buddhist teachings. The Buddhist, you come to Buddhist society, yeah.
Yeah, so this is the benefit of restraint, So it has great benefits, and this is why we are doing this course.
Yeah,
and encouraging people
encouraging every.
to do the sense restraint. We will not spend too much time with this, just read its nice few verses coming up here. So this is from Anguttara Nikaya 663. Because these 6 bases for contact, if well tamed, well guarded, well protected, well restrained, are bringers of happiness. Having seen forms that delight the mind, and having seen these that gives no delight, dispel the path of lust towards the delightful, and do not soil the mind by thinking the other is displeasing to me. I'm going to skip. This goes on for all the 6 senses, and then it goes, when common people of proliferated perception perceive and proliferate, they become engaged, having dispelled every mind state bound to the home life. One travels on the road of renunciation. This is the path of renunciation, giving up, that we look forward to when we are ready, not when we are not ready, right? But renunciation is blissful, giving up of these entanglements and difficulties. It's a really beautiful thing. And then when the mind is thus well developed in 6, if touched, one's mind never flutters anywhere. Having vanquished both lust and hate, O bhikkhus, go to the far shore beyond birth and death. Quite beautiful. Sometimes we can talk and talk and talk about Dhamma. There is really nothing that you already know. But sometimes you read an inspiring verse. Verses are very powerful. I really love to learn and remember verses, because sometimes all you need is a beautiful verse, and it captures everything that we know and bring home the message in a beautiful, inspiring way. Your heart really wants to do it. Yeah, for me, these beautiful verses by the Buddha is really powerful, which is why I brought this. And this other verse I already mentioned. This is, they are not sensual pleasures, the pretty things in the world. A person's sensual pleasure is lustful intentions. The pretty things remain just as they are in the world, but the wise remove the desire for them.
Yeah, I really like that one.
Yeah, and this is what is coming up. So in the next class, Ajahn Brahmali and Ajahn Munisara will really delve into this, of how to do this, how to change your lustful intention towards pretty things. There's many angles to do this. This is beyond, it's not right for us to address this, even though it's very inviting.
I wanted to say something. Can I say something?
Yes.
Well, the thing is, like, for me, it almost feels like quite often this kind of, like, if we see a pretty thing, we want to own it.
Yes.
Like, if whatever it is, like, there's this kind of sense that I wish I could have it.
Yes.
It's like, and there's this kind of ownership what comes very naturally with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's where we can also stop, because there's a really nice thing that I want to go further into. So I'm going to skip the next few slides, which was about dealing with this. So I'm going to skip those and come to here. How to overcome suffering in day-to-day life, right? This is at the end of the day what is important for us.
We try to keep it practical.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Vante, this is your slide.
Is it?
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So sorry. Did you? It's okay to unplug. This is how we start.
Yeah,
Okay. We go there and then we go.
Ah.
So again, I mean, it's the world doesn't come from, the happiness doesn't come from this endless trying to find the world when you keep scrolling as we do, or in the internet, what a distraction it is. It can give us a lot, but how much time we waste. That is, it's okay to put down the phone early, and you wake up early and not cloudy. Take a break from your businesses in the world. How much actual business there is in the world, and how much do you create it? If at nighttime, instead of you scrolling on the phone, what if you take a 15 minutes just sitting there leaning against the back of the bed, and then just look what's happening in your mind, and then it's automatically reflect, instead of you always looking outwardly in the life, and then never look what's happening inside of your mind. Don't think this kind of things like reflection is difficult to do, or it's boring, or it's somehow esoteric. Monks and nuns can do it. You can do it as long as you don't watch your phone all the time. It's very automatic process, but it needs a little bit of restrainment in the beginning, and needs a little bit of understanding with wisdom what is actually more beneficial for you.
This is also your slide.
It's my slide as well. The shopping pause. So again, I mean, I thought it was like we were. Why it's my slide? Both of us were thinking, it was like we bring this kind of like ideas, like in the
things coming up.
Yeah, in this like real world scenarios, we wanted to bring a little bit into this workshop, and now since we're coming to an end, we only have 15 minutes left. We come to this real world scenario. So the buying this thing is like we always want to get more and more, but instead of getting more and more, you restrain. And it's actually what the Buddha was teaching, that this kind of buying, it doesn't bring you happiness. And this next slide, you will be and that's the dessert dilemma, right? One is nice. It's nice. One have one piece of cake. Second, you start feeling like, I'm gonna get fat. Third one, you feel like really I'm gonna be fat, and you feel queasy. You don't feel really good about it. So all of these things are like we think Dhamma is somehow like outwardly, which it is, but it can apply in many very practical ways. It's sort of like, how much dessert is enough? Yes, I need one piece. Yeah, definitely. But 2, 3 is too much. And the same with scrolling your phone. It's same with impulse buying. How much you need. Is that bringing you happiness in the world? So those are some practical things I just thought it was nice to bring.
I think. Should we stop here, or should we talk? Let's talk a little bit about this, because it is important to see in the gradual training, for example, that's what this slide was about. So you can see that right action and right speech. So this is usually taken as morality or virtue, right? And then comes sense restraint in the gradual training sequence, right? So the virtue comes first, and then sense restraint. But in other suttas, quite a few of them, the Buddha says, when there is no restraint of the sense faculties, virtuous behavior lacks its proximate cause. What does that mean? it says the opposite, right? It's the sense restraint which leads to virtuous behavior. And this makes sense, isn't it? Because when your eye is unguarded, you're bound to do something unskillful with body, speech and mind, with what you have seen. Again, with hearing, if you didn't have that guarding of the
and
sense.
it's almost it's interesting, it goes both ways as well. Like I talked about alcohol, what's wrong about a little bit of alcohol, but it goes like you because you restrained your consumption, then it's the virtues is you cannot have that virtue, and because you don't have the virtue, you don't have the sense restraint. It's like they all go together and they support each other.
So the way I see or understand this is like in the gradual training, the virtue part is keeping of precepts. But keeping of precepts is not just virtue. It's just the starting point. We are like elephant, right? Because last week we did Danta Bhumi Sutta, the training of a wild elephant, the taming. Right? Our minds are like this wild elephant, like a wild beast. So when we start, we do need to put it in some kind of place to restrain it, bringing out that wild elephant out into the open. So that is the help of the precepts. Just because we have taken the precepts, we want to keep the precepts. So even if it is hard, we are trying because we have taken something on board. That's what for us as well. So we have taken like 227 and 311 precepts. Not always easy to keep them, but because we have made a commitment, we have to somehow keep that. So that is helping us in that way of keeping us restrained in that way. But it is not necessarily always natural, right? Because it's hard. That's why it's a struggle. But when we come to sense restraint, because that is helpful to do sense restraint, but after sense restraint, keeping of virtue is a piece of cake. Wrong thing to say. It's easy, it is easy to keep, easier, it gets easier. So which is why you have, and in another, I just wanted to just bring out, even in this sutta, this is Anguttara 1061, what is the nutriment for the three kinds of good conduct? It should be said, restraint of the sense faculty. So good conduct by body, speech and mind is virtue. So the nutriment for that, is sense restraint. Again, in here, Anguttara 650, the Buddha says, one deficient in restraint of the sense faculties, virtuous behavior lacks its proximate cause. Just a few we pulled out to just show the proper keeping of the sila, virtue, happens after sense restraint. It becomes easier. So the thing is, there is a gradual path that develops in a sequential manner, but after you start it, they have feedback loops, and they help and they build and become stronger. And the virtue which starts with precepts becomes a natural thing, and you get established, and it becomes easy to keep virtue.
And then again, I mean, how do you get into? How does your mindfulness work better, and how do you get into deeper meditation, and how do you correct your right view, and all these it's a really nice thought that it feeds back into itself. You restrain because of that. It's easier to keep your sila because your sila is nice. You feel at ease, and all these things that the Eightfold Path really works as a this feedback loop.
It is gradual, and you keep at it. Perseverance is the important thing, and it actually builds up. So now, for the next few, we might take another 10-15 minutes, if that's okay. We want to talk something that is earlier than gradual training. Because we start with gradual training, but this is something that is also important. So if you want to look up Bojjhanga Samyutta, which is in the Connected Discourses, chapter 46, and Magga Samyutta, which I can't remember which chapter it is, this is on the Noble Eightfold Path, again and again and again, you will see something very important. The Buddha says, all of the factors for enlightenment. Usually in the suttas, there's the 7 enlightenment factors, and there is also, very often we hear about the 37 Bodhipakya Dhammas, the factors for enlightenment, many things that we need to develop. All of these path factors are to be developed based on 4 foundations. What are these 4 foundations? Because no point in talking about gradual training. All of the factors of the gradual training are also to be developed based on 4 foundations. What are these 4 foundations? Anybody? Viveka Nissitang, Viraga Nissitang, Nirodha Nissitang, Vasagga Parinami. Viveka based on seclusion. Viraga based on this passion of fading away. Based on cessation, based on a mind inclined towards Nibbana. Right?
Yeah.
You have to have these as a foundation. Without this foundation, you can learn and learn and learn and learn, and you feel like a failure. Why can't I even do this much? This is so simple. I am hopeless case. This is what we feel sometimes, because already we know so much Dhamma, and we try to do it and we fail, and we wonder, where is the problem? The problem is you haven't paid enough attention to the foundations. What is the first one? Viveka. What is Viveka? What is seclusion? Viveka is of 3 types. 1, Kaya Viveka. Not yet.
Oh,
not
sorry.
yet. Yeah, I'm not ready. Yeah. Kaya Viveka is seclusion of the body. Yeah. Second one, Chitta Viveka, the seclusion of the mind, that is the mind free from hindrances, which we just spoke about, being free from death, free from sickness, that kind of Viveka. And the last one, Upadi Viveka, mind free from all defilements, completely gone, right? So let's talk about the first one. That is enough for now. The rest will happen afterwards.
Okay.
There's
That's
no
what I thought.
time.
Wow.
But the most important thing, and this is why for the rest of my life, if I only deliver this, this is the only teaching that I want to deliver, because you hear all the profound Dhamma, there is no lack of it. Right? There's plenty of it, but very rarely do you hear about this, and that is Viveka. This is what is lacking in your life. Right? People are often, even if they're retired, they're still exhausted. They're so tired, sleep deprived. Is that true? Many people are, unless you are on retreat, we're tired. Why? Even the retired people watching too much news. Okay, not watching news, busy with your grandchildren or doing something or the other, whatever it is. If it is not that, it is your food. Did you know how much your food affects your sleep? Like, the modern day food habits actually affect so much your sleep. And if you haven't slept very well, what's the term? Grumpy. Right? It's truly that. Yeah? You know this. You have experienced that. So hopeless. We cannot apply even the smallest thing. When did you snap back? When was your acts by body, speech and mind not good? When you were tired. Isn't that true? Yes. When you are not tired, when you are relaxed, when you have mental and physical energy, it is easy to do even the hard parts of the path. You have done this as well. So check it out. So it is important because it doesn't come out in other places. We don't think about it so much. But if you are interested, serious about the path, then take care of your well-being. This is important, and that's why I quoted the Buddha. The Buddha said, Viveka Nissita. So Viveka, this is why monks and nuns, we live in the forest, in huts, in seclusion. We have a lot of time and we have that kind of lifestyle because it is important. So in lay life too, you need to take care of these things. So take care of these things, which are the rest of the slides. I just want to go through at least just seeing them, because no point doing this whole course for the rest of your life if you don't take care of this. This is pre-primary, because we did the primary school today, Sila. So this is pre-primary, but it is not pre-primary. That's what you will understand, right? So how to increase the quality of your life? Take a moment, just chillax. If you can climb a tree, climb a tree. Watch the traffic flow by, right? Just settle back. This is just visual things just to see how important this is. Don't feel guilty to have a nap. Our bodies are aging. Sometimes it needs a rest. It is fighting sickness. Listen to your body. If it is asking, don't think, I should do something. What do? You waste your time anyway. Looking up, scrolling through your phone and all these things. Is much better to have a nap. Give yourself a rest. You will feel fresh. It's much better way of using your time. Okay, yeah? You have permission to relax. Yeah, it is really important. People feel guilty. I don't know why. I'm probably not people here because Ajahn Brahm talks so much about relaxing. He coined the word chillaxing. It is so important. In the early years, I am embarrassed now. I even asked for forgiveness from Ajahn Brahm. I used to argue with him. Where did the Buddha says to chillax? Buddha says chandan janeti, vayamati, viryang arabati, chittam paganati, padati. Yeah. That's how I hear. Where did the Buddha says chillax? Well, here, before that. Yeah, before you put in the effort, you have to relax first. Viveka nisitang. You do that. That is part of right effort. That's what I said in Pali. Never mind what the meaning is. Yeah, it's putting in a lot of effort how you do it. But before that, you have to have the viveka. Yeah, so chillaxing is really important. It is okay to rest, right? It is really important, which is why I have these little visuals. Relax and restore. These things may sound like very modern things. These are modern cartoons, true. But did the Buddha say that? Yes, this starts before the path. It is so important, which is why I wanted to bring it up. A good rest is half of the work. Check this out yourself. You know how easy it is. This is why, if you've been on a 9-day retreat, you know the first 3 days, Ajahn Brahm chased people back to room, says, go, sleep, don't come for the early morning meditation. Rest, sleep in. No, don't mind if you miss your Dhamma talk, you can listen to it later. Have a rest. After about the 4th day only he starts to encourage, because now you are well rested. Now you're going to be applied, otherwise hopeless. Yeah. So it's important, don't underestimate these simple things. If this is the only thing that you take home from this class, it's worthwhile because you can look up the workshop online later when you're ready, when you're well rested. Yeah, and the other things, enjoy life one smile at a time, one slice at a time. Every bite is a vote for kind of life you want. Yeah, choose wisely, chew happily. So this is where importance of what you eat, because it really matters. Your food is medicine, and food can. And I'm saying this from my own experience. I have suffered from bad digestion, and I have seen how much effect, and Bhante, I'm sure you can relate to that. You also have difficulty with food, and we have to be careful. And we realize how much the food affects our quality of life. And if you don't have that, it is impossible. When you feel tired, when you can't sleep because of digestion, it is impossible. You become grumpy. You can't help yourself, right? So it is important that you take care of what you eat, how much you eat, which is why it is in the gradual training in moderation in eating. And this is not there in the gradual training, because at the time of the Buddha, people didn't have to exercise. Exercise was there. Like I mentioned earlier or yesterday, people walked, the monks and nuns walked for a couple of hours for alms round. They carried water from the well, chopped wood, and did everything. So physical work was not lacking, so they had plenty exercise in their daily life. But these days, it's not there. So it is important to incorporate, to look after this body's well-being without body being. Not talking about being perfect. That is not going to happen. We can't ever have a perfect body or perfect health or anything like that. But do something so that you can actually do your part. You can apply yourself. You know this much. Right? Yesterday, I came, somehow I was very bloated with whatever I ate. I felt really uncomfortable. So I did a little bit of exercise. Then all the gases moved. I felt better. So have that sensitivity to just know. You just need to do some small things to take care of your body. Your body is not yours. It's a conditioned thing. So you have to do the right, simple things. Because if you don't do these things, it's really hard to do everything else that also sounded simple, but can't do. So these are just quick slides. Yeah, give yourself a treat. Yeah, so it's okay sometimes if you do need. Even saunas are allowed for us, isn't it? Yeah, we are allowed to have saunas. and also have nice hobbies. Yeah, some not very sensual, not immoral, but good things like go for a walk in the nature, like in the Therigatas, all those enlightened beings even delighted in the forest groves, the mountain caves, the sounds of the peacocks and the birds. It is nice because you do need a little bit of nice kind of stimulation from time to time, unless your meditation is really well. This is okay. So do these kinds of things, not being really serious and not do any of these things. Not like that. Sometimes it's nice to just stare at the sky. Australia is beautiful. At night you see the whole Milky Way. Sometimes it's just nice to lie down on the grass. Look, summertime, it's nice. That relaxation sounds so primary, but it goes a long way into settling your mind, being able for you to do these things. This is aspects of viveka, yeah? So, Bhante, did you have something to say? I was just going on and on and on. Yeah.
No, we still have how many slides?
We don't have to go through all. This is already enough. I think I made the point. Yeah, I made the point of how important it is to have viveka, good sleep, good rest, not overly much. Sleeping more than necessary makes you tired as well. Not eating enough is also makes you tired. So you need to find out, and this changes all the time. You have to have that sensitivity. How much is enough for me today? And do that. And doing that, then you will be able to do the rest. Why we go into the sensual world is also because of that. You will see certain food draws you into sensual world. Even neurotransmitters that triggers by food does that. So be sensitive to these things and be skillful with it, which is why I just wanted to bring that as a wrapping up of this class, because otherwise, no point. Yeah.
Are we going to have a quick Q&A?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's the end of today's presentation.
I'll end with the...
You have a nice slide to end there?
I don't know whether I have. This one maybe. Looks like Ajahn Brahm, no?
Does it?
I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, that Dhamma. Okay, question.
Ajahn, so you were talking about complimenting and complaining. More complaints than compliments. Now that is outward, but it can happen inwards as well to yourself, isn't it? And that is, I think, under control. You can control it, and I believe too much of compliments can raise your ego, and too much of complaints can.
Be careful with that.
Yeah, that's right. And
no.
you go kind of depressed. So what is your comment on that?
I don't think there's very rarely too much compliments. I mean, I don't think the world gives too much. I mean, sure, it can, especially to monastics, we get put on a throne, a pedestal, that it's, sure it can happen, but I wouldn't, I don't think it, I mean, you have to be really full to get tricked by that. I don't think it happens too much. I don't think, if anything, we should try to compliment more of each other, and especially in the lay life. Yeah, so don't hold back on the compliment side. Even for monastics, that's our job. We receive the compliment.
I get your point, Prem. So if you do see unwholesome states coming up as a result, then you need to do something middle way. But like Bhante said, it's very rare. But if it is happening, then you need to sort of not take it so seriously. Yeah, that's what we do. I mean, we get praised for things we haven't done. We get blamed for things we haven't done.
Yeah.
so this is the world it wins, right? So yeah.
It's just the world, what it gives you. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you. Just
I'm intrigued by what Karunika said at the beginning of the presentation about the 4 needs. And you listed 4 material needs, and when someone said love, you said that's one thing. Mm-hmm. And I'm intrigued by that because, I mean, for example, just yesterday, I was reading about two premature twins, and one had the 4 needs. They were in a hospital, and one had all the 4 needs, and he was dying. And when a nurse put the other twins next to him, and he held him, he started, responding well. So that was a need that he was lacking, and that brought life back to him, and not the 4 needs that you listed at the beginning.
But does love cost money?
No.
That's right. So these 4 needs were the things that you have to buy, yeah? So spend money. So there are many other things emotional. That's not what we were talking about with needs and wants. The needs that are material things where you need to spend money. So, food, shelter, medicine, and clothing. So these are things that you have to buy. Yeah,
okay, thanks for clarifying.
Yeah.
Maybe Wayne?
Venerable, could you please mention those 4 foundations again, starting with seclusion?
Yeah, in English or in Pali? English. Seclusion. Viraga is dispassion or fading away. And the third one is cessation. And 4th one is Vasaga Parinaming is, how is it translated? A mind inclined towards Nibbana. Yeah?
Thank you very much.
Okay, yeah.
It's many places in the sutta.
Yes,
so
again and
different.
again.
Any?
Cessation is ending of things, so mind inclined on cessation, but in Nibbana is the complete ending. Ending of the...
It ripens in letting go.
Yeah.
Okay. I think we should close the session so we can get ready for the meditation class.
Okay.
Yeah? Everyone okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay, so I think we should say 3 loud sadhus to the teachers. So Ajahn Mudito will be back on 13th of December to finish up the last workshop. But Ayya Karunika is actually leaving, and she's going back to Santi. So we're really grateful to both teachers, and especially to Ayya Karunika for making an effort to come here to teach us. That's Sama Vayama.
Thank you
so
for
3
the
loud sadhus to the 2 teachers. Sadhu, sadhu,
Sadhu,
sadhu.
sadhu. Okay.
Thank
great.
you.
Swakato Bhagavata Dhammo Dhamma Namasami Supatipanno Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Sangha Namami.
Okay.